Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm going over the trades that I ended up taking today. I ended up taking a loss today. Sorry for no upload yesterday. I ended up taking a loss yesterday as well. So we're a pretty poor week so far. Two losses is what it is. We'll bounce back. But the loss yesterday could have been avoidable. I believe so. I'm not going to lie. And the loss today could have also been avoidable. Mm, I do agree that it could have been avoidable, but both were pretty solid in my opinion. So I'm going to go over them now. There is always going to be risk factor behind your trade. So yesterday's one, just super quickly, you guys know we were pretty bullish. We were looking pretty bullish on the higher time frame yesterday. We were inversing, we were disrespecting bearish, respecting bullish, delivering out of key levels, and then we ended up having this like kind of 10 a.m. mixed with where am I looking? Over here, cool. This 10 a.m. mixed with 10 a.m. and 10:15 sort of PO3 into this unfilled 15-minute fair value gap that we opened up at 9:45, and then the S&P 500 also had an SMT with a New York AM session low, and was inside of a 30-minute gap. We just had pretty good draws higher. We were generating some nice LR towards that, and then we ended up getting a 5-minute inverse, which I wasn't fully convicted on. And this is where I'm going to say I should have probably ended up just fading it all together, because we had this 5-minute inverse right here, as we can see, at 10:20, and then from there ES was still respecting a 5-minute gap. So what I decided to do was set a small condition for myself, the highest time frame for value gap within this leg of price being the 3-minute gap that we opened after inversing the 5-minute. If we end up coming into this 3-minute gap and respecting it and displacing out of it, I can assume that we are indeed going to be bullish from this level, and that the S&P 500 is not going to be reacting off of that 5-minute and wanting to make a move lower. So we ended up coming into this la, 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 this 3-minute fair value gap at 10:26, and then we did get a CISD out of it, but I didn't like the wick that we printed, and I also didn't like the wick that the S&P 500 printed inside of the 5-minute, and then we had a stop hunt inside of this 3-minute fair value gap with an SMT. And then we got that 1-minute CISD with much better displacement here, which I was liking. So I ended up entering longs on this with my stop at the low here, targeting a 1-to-1. So targeting just above this high right here. And the S&P 500 was also looking in a better spot at this stage. But again, it was pretty choppy, so I probably should have just avoided it altogether. So I ended up getting taken out of this trade by like the tick. And then I ended up running to where I would have went break even, and then ended up just chopping and chopping, and then the setup did end up failing in the end, and we ended up delivering lower, which is fair enough. Pretty simple stuff. I did like the setup. I know a lot of people took this, but yeah, it is what it is. I'd say it could have been avoidable if I just took the 5-minute and then went break even where I should have, or I guess just recognized these poor choppy conditions and just got off the charts after seeing that. But cool. Let's get into the loss that I ended up taking today. I think a few people ended up taking the same thing as well. I think if you guys know Paddy and Blake. I think Patrick ended up taking the exact same trade as me, and basically coming into what's this? Yeah, okay, cool. So coming into market open today, I was pretty blatantly bearish. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't really see a bullish narrative within this, so I'm gonna go over it. Where's 9:30? Right here, cool. So as you can see, on the daily time frame, what are we doing? We are delivering out of this daily fair value gap which we had put in, and we are just the reaction off of that was really really strong. We just completely started displacing to the downside here. We were inside of a bullish 4 hour, but we already inverse, like we were looking like we were going to inverse both 4 hours here. Just added the displacement from the daily, because the daily of course is a higher time frame than the 4 hour. Higher time frame holds higher power. So with that in mind, coming into market open, as we can see, we had this premiumed 1 hour up here, but I was not looking for price to retrace to this because this was super premiumed. Like if we grab the fib tool here and manage from this, like it's way above even 0.705. Like it's it's a really 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 steep retrace. Like if we had something along the lines of this and then made it move lower and then whatever, that would have been better. But again, it's a very very premium gap, so I wasn't really looking for us to reject off of this gap. Because if price did end up running through both of these 30-minute gaps, I don't expect that this hourly gap is going to hold, just because that would just kind of be showing bullish price action. Like there's no reason for us to start inversing these 30-minute gaps just to get up to this really premium hourly gap. Like it's pretty rare that something like that would happen. So yeah, with that in mind, I was looking at these two 30-minute gaps that we had. I was looking to take basically any decent inversion with solid narrative off of these either these two key levels. Um, Draws lower were pretty good as well. We had some low resistance liquidity on the higher time frame down here, and then we also had London session lows from Tuesday down here as well, which were unscathed, so they were untouched. And yeah, that was basically what I was looking at going into market open. As you can see, prior market open, we were just accumulating. And then the market ends up opening higher here, and then we got like this failure little 1 minute inversion right here. I don't know, this is a really, really poor inversion, and it's on the 930 candle. I would never take something like that. And then we ended up running higher here. And then we had poked in this bearish candle at 939, and we had this high resting inside of this 30-minute gap. And then we ended up manipulating out that high. And then on this next candle here, boom, yeah, we had excellent displacement after that stop hunt inside of that gap. Inverse this 1 minute gap as well, and also had a CISD here. I think the displacement on this was just too good for me to ignore. I really like this with all the low resistance liquidity leading up to this higher time frame DOL. With this trade, I was literally just targeting the New York AM session low, and I ended up getting my butt smacked on this trade. Now, was this trade avoidable? It kind of was. Reason being was because we did have these 5 minute intermediate highs up here, which were looking like they did want to get manipulated out. But just after seeing this displacement, like, I don't know. I felt like we didn't, because we already technically had that 1 minute stop hunt inside of that 30 minute gap. So at this point, when I seen this displacement, I was like, I don't think there's any reasoning for us to remanipulate this high to go and grab those 5 minute intermediate highs. But we did end up doing that, so I ended up just getting used as basically more liquidity being generated lower. And then we ended up getting this really, really clean setup with this stop hunt at 945. So the 945 PO3 on top of the 930 PO3. So we're in a time premium, swept out a significant pool, had a stop hunt, had a 5 minute stop hunt, 1 minute stop hunt, and then we also had good displacement through this 1 minute gap as well. So if any of you guys ended up taking this trade today, I do rate it. This trade is definitely trade of the day in my opinion. So this trade ends up just running to see. The thing is as well, I think people ended up going break even as well. Some people end up going break even here at this 944 low. I could understand if you wanted to go break even here due to conditions being slightly choppy, so you didn't want to get caught in chop. But if you had conviction with this, I feel like there's no reason to be going break even here, because you need to go break even at a point where you feel like your stop loss has a threat to it. And this 944 low is inside of a zero key level, no 1 minute gap, no 2 minute, 3 minute, no nothing. It's just a low resistance liquidity leading up to more low resistance liquidity, leading up to more and more to that higher time frame DOL. So all of this is just low resistance. We have no reason to be rejecting off here when we are just swept out a 5 minute internal high with a stop hunt inside of a 30 minute gap. So yeah, this ends up, if you did end up going break even at that 941 low, you would have ended up getting break even, and then price eventually would have ended up running to your TP and then running to your full draw on liquidity right after as well. So, and ends up, yeah, full draw as well with the intermediate low here too. So was this loss avoidable? I think I just didn't really. I'd say how I should have played this realistically was I should have de-risked on the first setup, because there was that risk factor of that higher time frame candle was still opening, that 945 candle was still opening, and that could have manipulated me out. So I could have de-risked, but because of the displacement, I really liked it, so I took it anyway. And could have de-risked 0.5% instead of 1%, so I didn't have to risk 500. I should have probably risked 250. And then once I seen this, then potentially I could have risked that extra to put more conviction on. But either way, it was before FOMC, so conditions were super, super choppy. I think the narrative of today's price action was pretty clean, but the delivery and conditions that we were in were really, really poor. So this could have also been avoided by simply just not trading at all. And yeah, it's just something to journal, something to move on from. We did get the bias right. Just unfortunate we got stopped out, and then it ran towards our TP. Is what it is. Nothing really you can do about that. Overall, though, I did think it was a pretty good setup. It had a lot of displacement. It did have the stop hunt. It did have a low resistance. It did have good targets. I liked it. Something to journal, though, for sure. So that's going to be it for today's trade recap, where I went over today's trade and yesterday's trade. Going to be documenting my entire journey to profitability, so I'm excited for the future of this channel. If you guys ended up taking anything today, leave the trades that you ended up taking in the comments below. I'm always interested to see. And if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below too. If you guys want to talk to me personally, you can go to my Discord, Instagram, or TikTok, which will be linked in the bio of this video. If you guys want to check them out and shoot me a DM, yeah, I'd 100% respond to that. So except for that, I will catch you guys in the next trade recap video, which will be tomorrow. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Peace.